Yeah, I think I can start us off at the very
Okay.
least. I know I can say things that'll make you angry and want to counter me.
Okay. I mean, that's all that
really
matters, right?
right. That's what it is. Like I'll just use a trigger word like battle pass or loot box, and then right,
Like,
right.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. You have decided to tune into a horrible gaming podcast for whatever reason, but we're happy you did. We're at episode 53. We are phoning it in now. We're over a year. So with me is
Neil, aka Tiny Wizard.
And as usual, we've got to do our disclaimers. I've got a kid sitting behind me on a tablet. I am a house dad, so there is possibility that the quality of this will not be exceptional. Horrible's in the name, ladies and gentlemen. And then, of course, some credits. We'd like to thank Mark Bell for all the original graphics that he has provided for this show and all of our shows here at Old Man Gaming. And then big thanks to my brother, Nick Van Sliders, who has provided us with the theme song to this show and the theme songs for all of our shows. And one day we're going to push him to actually release an album with us. So thank you to him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to Fan Interaction, probably our favorite segment. At this point, we talk to you guys, the fans, anybody who has commented in the YouTube or the Discord. We try and read out your comments, within reason, but we try and read them all out. We also decide the Horrible Arena winner based on your comments from last week. And, we ask a question to you guys just to, keep the conversation going. So let's get this sucker going right off the bat. Phil Billy starting us off this time instead of Kev Too Tall. I detest Brie Larson. We were talking about Brie Larson potentially playing Samus. If you want to hear Phil Billy rant about something for just loudly and more militantly than you think is necessary, ask him about Brie Larson. It's like a trigger. It's a trigger word for him. I love you, Phil Billy, but it is. Then Kev Too Tall chimed in on the same subject. No, Brie cannot be Samus. I won't allow it. I'm nervous as what that entails. Kev Too Tall then says prices are going to be over $500. This is why you have waited so long to reveal the price. You might be right, Kev, but you're wrong. Xbox Series X is not going to be over $500. I'm telling you, it's just not. I don't think so. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Neil would be happy if you're right because, well, he'd be both happy and unhappy, I'm assuming.
I would be both happy and
he would not have to buy me a dinner, but he would have to find...
Free food is always good, but I mean, it would just be a sad state.
Well, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on this, but if they waited this long to give us prices that are over $500, I think people would be even more upset. I think the higher the price that they end up telling us, the earlier they should have told us, and I think that's going to be the feeling. Kev Too Tall then says, I am the interaction, with a little sunglasses emoticon. I don't know. Phil Billy was challenging you this week there, Kev. Because then Phil Billy comes in with, unfortunately, I feel PlayStation is winning. That was the question we asked last week. Is PlayStation or Xbox winning? Which do you think, Neil?
I have to say it's still definitely Sony. Sony is definitely in the lead. Microsoft has made too many mistakes in this lead up so far, and Sony's just come out swinging every single time. I mean,
so I'm going to say Sony is in the lead. But I'm going to challenge you on the fact that they've come out swinging every single time. They've come out swinging the one time.
That's fair.
And every time before that, they actually miffed it. Like, if we were having this conversation 3 months ago, we'd be having a completely different conversation because Xbox was dominating, especially after Sony's silly, like, well, it's not as big, but it's still good conference with Mark Cerny sitting up there talking to a bunch of fake people.
What I would say in response to that is Microsoft was winning because there was a lack of information from Sony. Then they did come out and have that developer talk, which again we can all agree was just bad. It was bad. It gave us the information that we were wanting, but not in a way that we wanted it. But then again, when Sony did come out and have their one big show, Microsoft had one before it and one more after it, and they still haven't been able to shake that influence of Sony's one show.
So this is kind of a theory in my opinion. I think
it's a tinfoil theory.
It's not a tinfoil thing.
Oh, okay.
I personally believe that the only reason Sony is actually ahead is because Sony was so far ahead in the last generation. Because I still think if you really look at everything both companies have showed us, Xbox is the clear winner in my opinion. But I think Sony is winning, and I think they're winning because they won so well last time. I think that they are kind of they're winning, but they don't need to take as many big shots because they're so far ahead. And that's my biggest problem with it right now. And Xbox has definitely miffed the last two shows. There's no argument. You can go back and look at our responses to the last two shows. We're very negative. Not saying they're not screwing up, but I think Xbox has to play a perfect game. Sony has to hit one or two shots.
True.
And I think that's the reason they're ahead, which I think is a little unfair, but, life isn't fair. So, okay. So back to the comments. Kev Tutal says, Halo Infinite says it all. Halo Forever, constantly sucking our money into the Microsoft coffers. I mean, yes, I know Phil Billy's out there nodding with you because of money, but at the same time, I'd rather it be that way. I just would rather have that.
I mean,
have a constant experience for a little bit cheaper every now and then than buy a full $60 game that I'm done with in 2 weeks.
I mean, I was going to bring it up in the odds and ends later, but since we're kind of on the topic anyway, they did come out and say that the multiplayer is going to be like a free-to-play standalone thing.
You were going to steal one of my odds and ends. Awesome.
Yeah, and they're going to have a battle pass too, which is going to take the form of all the other battle passes that we've seen out there. So, I'm doing the knee jerk cringe stuff, but like, look, this is like one of my favorite game series out there. So like, no matter what BS they come up with, I'm still going to give it a shot, but I'm just so nervous. They have to knock it out of the park.
The thing is, and I'm not speaking specifically to you on this, I'm speaking to the rest of the world, but the world wanted a battle pass. I've started to see people get very negative on battle passes as of late, and it's kind of pissing me off a little bit. Like everybody had a problem with loot boxes, so all these companies switched to battle passes, and everybody was happy with that. And now everybody's turning on the battle pass. Look, we chose this. Like, we did. We chose this. We collectively, as a group, were like, we're all right with the battle passes. And the companies were like, okay, we're going to put battle passes in everything. We can't now be upset about battle passes.
But at the same time, can you call it a choice when that's the only option offered to us?
I feel as though if they went with battle passes right after the loot boxes and everybody had rejected it as hard as they rejected the loot boxes, they would have found a different thing. The thing is there's going to be a thing. There's going to be a thing. Like a thing that makes them money post-launch. That's not going away. We all understand how the world works. That's going to be there. But Battle Pass, everybody was like, we're all right with that. It's not loot boxes. We're okay with it. You can't then decide that you don't like them. You know what I mean? If we had all rejected it just as hard when it came out, they would have found something else. I mean, they're going to find a thing, don't get me wrong, but they would have found a different way to do it, you know?
I mean, I'd still prefer to pay $80 for a game to not have to worry about any sort of loot boxy.
I want the game
crap.
as cheap as humanly possible in the initial onset. Like I do. I'm completely opposite on that. I don't want $80 games because then you're going to be paying $80 for games with stories that have like 4 hours, like Halo. Halo games usually aren't that big. I would never pay $80 for a Halo storyline ever. It's the size of a movie. There's no way. Like
right.
I don't want that. I don't want that at all.
But using the same logic of, you know, getting as much as you can out of your investment, that multiplayer is there. And Halo 5's multiplayer, I don't know why people didn't like it. I enjoyed it. And I still go back to it now 5 years later.
And you're getting that multiplayer for free.
Well, I'm saying like
multiplayer for free.
Well, what I'm saying though is I've already spent the money on the game. I bought Halo 5. I didn't get it through Game Pass.
Right.
I bought Halo 5 as a full retail game, $60, and I'm still coming back to that one game. Now, if it's a single narrative game, of course, that's going to be that argument that's going to come up no matter what. But like, if you have your multiplayer in like as a part of the game, I would totally be okay spending $80 on a multiplayer game to just earn the stuff in game instead of loot boxy and stuff like that. Like Halo Reach, I loved it. You played the multiplayer, you got credits, you saved your credits, and then you bought whatever customization stuff you wanted. I wish we would go back to that.
We're gonna go down a rabbit hole on this.
Yeah,
we're not even in a talking point yet. We got to get through fan interaction because I was immediately coming up with a counter, and then I'm like, no, this is not gonna work out. Okay, so continuing. Forever Son. The game looked like Halo. That is what mattered. If I wanted pretty and shiny, I would go look at Anthem, says Kev Too Tall. I hate to tell you, Kev. Anthem doesn't actually look that good once you start playing it, which was a real bummer for me. But I refuse to give up on Anthem. Then Kev goes, I don't know who gets my money first. You both would get it in the end this week. He said about Horrible Arena. Then later he says, I'm voting Zach because I liked his story for the game just a tad better. So I guess I would be getting his money first. And Philbilly voted on Discord. Thank you for voting on Discord. Remember, we read them out on Discord as well. He said, my vote for Horrible Arena this week is tough. I really like both games pitched, but I feel I'm going to go with Neil's only because I am a side-scroll beat-em-up. I'm not a side-scroll beat-em-up guy. And that's fair. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. However, that brings us into a tie, and I do believe, Neil, last week, right off the bat, you said you would give me your vote. So
absolutely,
I must ask: do I get the win this week?
I would say that you do get the win. Yes, that's a real vote. That's real fake money that I threw down on a real fake counter to buy a real fake game.
I don't know if I had lost on Sewers of Rage. I think I would have had to retire. So then Philbilly went into a big old tangent, which we're going to read. So here we go. I truly believe that Microsoft has finally realized, unfortunately, that the good guy never wins. Unfortunately, I think their actions are giving a really bad look. The reason I believe this is that Sony has never even tried to be the good guy. They have always remained cocky and unwavering. So we knew that's what we were getting, where Microsoft tried to do the consumer-friendly thing. And I believe they realized it was going to cause them to lose, causing them to backpedal, which is a bad look. I think it is unfortunate that the world we are in kind of sticks it to the good guys don't win even in the industry. I'm sorry. I totally botched that sentence. Let me try it again. Sorry, Philbilly. I think it is unfortunate that the world we live in kind of sticks it to the good guys don't win, which even in the industry I'm in took me time to learn, which is why people who don't truly know me probably think I'm a dick. laugh out loud. Well, we don't think you're a dick, Phil Billy, for the most part.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't think you're a dick.
No, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. I kind of agree with him a little bit on this, with the way that the show was presented. He's speaking directly about us talking about how all of a sudden, when we were talking about the showcase, how all of a sudden now there's console launch exclusives being showed that you can't play anywhere, and then they discontinued the Xbox One X. That's what he's talking about directly. And I hate to say it, I kind of agree with him. I don't know if necessarily the reasoning behind it is they think the good guy's going to lose, but I think that they've definitely done this like a soft 180 on their stance of play anywhere, and that's really pissing me off. And it does make them look bad, because if you're in a chicken match and you blink, you're the idiot, you know?
Right.
And then finally, Kev Too Tall said he was voting for Zach. Oh, no, I already read that. So that is fan interaction for this week. We should probably ask a question.
Yeah. I think
I
we
asked
should.
it last week.
And I am thoroughly unprepared in that regard. You know what? I actually heard that they're going to be adapting apparently a bunch of Ubisoft game properties into TV shows. I only saw it once, but I don't know how legit it is. But just segueing that into something, what would make a good TV show?
What game would make a good TV show?
What game would make a good TV show?
That's a good one. All right, guys, you've got your question. We'd love to hear from you guys. And as usual, comment in all the places, and we will try and read them out on the show.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first talking point, which we kind of started to get into in the fan interaction. But we want to talk about this. This is big news coming out of Xbox about their signature franchise. Their multiplayer suite for Halo will be free to play with a battle pass. So we've already started to go into this a little bit, thanks to the fan interaction. And I want to go into this a little bit harder with you, Neil, because I don't agree with you at all that paying for a game. So if you're paying for a game that's just multiplayer, I don't think it should cost money, period. I don't, if you're getting a game that is just a multiplayer suite, no story content, no AI, nothing, it should be free to play now. And I think we are in the age that we are in. I think that is the only way it should be. It's the same thing with that Rocket Arena came out and it's $30. No, it should not be $30. You should have a battle pass. It should be free to play. That's the way it should be. With Halo,
oh, sorry.
Hold on. I'm not quite there yet. And then you can argue with everything I say.
No, it was the Rocket Arena thing. I actually just saw something that they were giving it away for free.
No, it was a free-to-play weekend.
Yeah,
weekend.
I was just about to say, I don't know if it's a free weekend.
I wanted to try it, but they, of course, picked a weekend in which I am moving my entire house. I just could not manage it.
Right.
But
continue.
But no, and Halo, and I know everybody's out there like, Halo has a story. Halo has a 2-3 hour, like it's a little story, and it's a good story. I'm not saying it's a bad story at all. But people play Halo for the multiplayer. They do. It's a space Call of Duty, and it should be free. And I'm glad it's free.
So
with a battle pass.
I'm not saying that the multiplayer should be like, if you're getting a game that's strictly multiplayer, that you should have to pay for it. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm arguing the fact that you have a game that has traditionally included multiplayer as part of the core experience.
Right.
You're going to hack that part off, throw it into the free-to-play, and then start charging money for it. I mean, it looks like just a bad cash grab to me. How
does something being free to play be a cash grab to you?
It's a cash grab because it has been traditionally included with the full purchase of the game. I mean, if it was just like, if we like 2 years ago, hey, we don't have a new Halo game out, but here's Halo such and such, the free-to-play online multiplayer. That's totally different. That's totally fine. That's its own little thing. But when you have every single traditional release of the game has come with the campaign mode and then the multiplayer mode. You're going to hack that multiplayer mode off and keep it totally separate from the core game. You're going to have the core game just be the shooter story part of it, and then you're just going to throw, battle pass, free-to-play economy on top of the part of the game that would have existed primarily without that in the first place as a part of the core game. I think that that's a bad look, and that, to me, screams greedy cash grab. I mean, even in Halo 5, they had the multiplayer that was included with Halo 5, but they started to throw those the loot boxy things into it, to where you could buy your rec packs that had like 10 things in them, and it was always a crapshoot if it was something that was actually worth your while.
See, that's the
like
cash grab, though. That's the cash grab.
And I hated that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's the cash grab. You paid $60 for the multiplayer, and then you had to pay for loot boxes too. That's the cash grab.
And I won't.
They're at least giving you for free. The game is at least for free. Like, you can play the game I can pick it up and play the game for free without spending any money on Halo. That's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, they're going to needle you with costs later on. And I know there are a lot of people who don't like that, and I get it. But at the same time, I don't get it, because it's the same thing with Call of Duty. I could pick that up. I could play that Battle Royale for free. And I don't ever have to buy anything, which often I don't. So, like, I don't understand how it being a free-to-play is a cash grab. Like, the stuff they're going to tack onto it is a cash grab, but they were going to tack that onto it whether they gave it to you for free or not. At least they're giving it to you for free to start.
See, I am still much rooted in the when a game comes out on that disc, you have your multiplayer and you have your campaign as a part of the complete experience. The multiplayer for Halo is now going to be a separate experience entirely from the campaign of Halo, which is okay, but why are you launching them at the same time? I don't understand why you're doing it that way. Plus, we're already going to be getting, like, I am spending money technically, but I will be getting Halo Infinite on Game Pass when it comes out. So I'm already shelling out $15 a month for Ultimate for you guys to get the games as it is, and then you're going to tack on the part that I was already paying for anyways, the multiplayer that was supposed to be originally, as it's been in the past, a part of the complete Halo experience. You're just cutting that off, throwing it off to the side and saying, okay, well, this is free to play now, and you can, just jump in it whenever. I think the accessibility of a free-to-play game is great. I have no problem with the free-to-play economy if it is not originally part of something that it was before. So something like, like Fortnite. Fortnite, you pay exactly $0 to download and play that game. You can go ahead, play the game all you want. You don't have to spend 1 red cent on it. And if you do decide to put money for it, that's okay, because it was free in the first place. But Fortnite was not originally part of some other thing. I mean, granted,
that is not true. Wholly not true. Fortnite was originally a story base building game that actually costed money. It was $30 in early access. They tacked on that battle royale because of PUBG's success, and it got big, and everybody forgot about this, and they made it a different mode inside Fortnite, but it was exactly this. Exactly
right.
This.
And that's what I was getting into. But at the same time, do you think if Fortnite was just Fortnite saves the world, that thing, do you think it would have rose to the meteoric popularity that it has? I don't think it would have, and the free-to-play has definitely helped that out.
Okay.
But there are other games out there, like the Call of Duty Battle Royale was originally part of the game that you paid for, and then they hacked it off and put it off to the side to say, hey, this is free to play now.
Right.
Like, I don't like that sort of stuff. If that's the case, then if they want to start doing that, then make these games with campaigns $30 as opposed to like the $50-$60 if you're going to start hacking it off. Because if we want to go down this road, we may as well just pay full-on subscriptions to individual games.
Oh, don't even say that. That you're going to get into some trouble. Here's the thing. While I will agree with you on the price of the campaign. First of all, we don't know how big Halo Infinite's story campaign is going to be this time around.
True.
Because it's going to be open world, so we know it's going to be a much bigger campaign than it has been in the past, obviously.
Right.
There's going to be a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff to drive around and accomplish. It's going to be more akin to like a Far Cry than like what it was in the past, which was more like a Call of Duty story, which was just like a 2-hour, 3-hour thing. I don't disagree with you that if you're going to cut off the multiplayer, the thing that everybody does, and make that, free, that the story should cost less. I'm not arguing with it, especially with the games that are cut down. Like Call of Duty story is like 3 hours long. It's like an action movie.
3-4 hours long.
Yeah,
I honestly never played through a campaign.
I should never have to pay $60 for that. Like, no one should have to pay $60 just for a campaign for Call of Duty. I'm not arguing that at all. And people who pick up Call of Duty definitely pick it up for the multiplayer suite. That being said, though, it's still free. You still get a whole section of it free that most people just play. That's what they play the game for. I have no problems with them hacking off a piece of Halo and putting it up for free. None. Because that gets more players in, and gets more players into the ecosystem. More players can just try it. On top of that, I can play it with you. I would never, ever, ever, ever shell out $60, $70, $80 for a Halo game. Now, when you get Halo, I can actually try the multiplayer with you. That wouldn't have happened before.
Well, I mean, you have Game Pass though, so you would have been able to if it was included. That's the other part of that I don't understand.
I see what you're saying, but I'm trying to look at it from like everybody's point of view. Like,
yeah, and there is something to be said for those who have always been curious about Halo but don't want to spend money on it.
Right.
But I feel like it is more so the cash grab and jumping on the trend of free-to-play online multiplayers to squeeze money out of people.
Okay.
Like, I, as a person who
squeeze money out of people, they already did that with the last one, and it was a $60 full thing, and they still did it. They're gonna squeeze money out of us. That is going to happen. At least we get a portion of it for free this time. Like, the cash grab thing was gonna happen. They were gonna do that. Like, every company is gonna do that from here on out forever in video games, because that's what we spend our money on, and we vote with our money, and we have voted, unfortunately, for battle passes and loot boxes and content like that. It's gonna happen. So I would rather get the thing for free and then be allowed to say, I don't want to spend money for that. I just want to play this part and get it for free, then spend $60 and still have that shit over there.
True, but then I think of something like, if we take this same exact logic and apply it to something like Madden.
Okay.
Madden has its seasons, its full campaign, this, that, and the other thing. What if we hacked off the multiplayer for Madden and just made that free? And instead of making it an annualized series in that regard, you just update the multiplayer every single year and just do the free-to-play Madden, and then have the game, the main story, main game that you would purchase for $60 every single year still be that way. Like, I don't think that – I think it would be the same sort of thing. It's like, why are we hacking off pieces of the game that was originally included in the whole game and making it its own separate free-to-play thing.
I mean, Madden's a
is
completely different thing. I don't think Madden should have a story, first of all. I know a
I'll
lot
agree
of people
there.
have gone into that.
Yeah.
I think it should have a season mode, a franchise mode, and then multiplayer. So personally, I think Madden should have done that years ago. They should have just gone free to play, and they should just have you pay to update the rosters every year when they get them done. And then that's it. And then when you need a new engine, you put a new engine in. Those guys build an entire game from ground up every year. It's insane and it's stupid, especially nowadays in the current industry and marketing where everybody chooses this stuff on a regular basis. This is what people are playing. And as much as we complain about it on the internet, we give the money to make the companies want to do this more. Like, I don't understand why Madden hasn't done that.
Right. And honestly, like, they could make more money that way.
Yeah.
And if they're looking from that making money standpoint, that's great. But eventually, at some point, somebody is gonna be like myself, to be like, hey, wait a second, this used to be part of the game as it was before, but now you're gonna hack it off, make it free, and still charge me the same amount for the other game. Like, I would be having a totally different feeling about this if Halo came out, the new Halo came out, and say, hey, you know what? It's only going to be even $45. We're going to charge $45 for your base game, maybe throw in like a little itty bit of like a DLC pack that goes towards the free-to-play version of the multiplayer. That would be okay. But if you're going to start just taking pieces off of an established thing and charging more, it's almost following the same sort of logic as how we've transitioned to DLC. Games used to be done, set, ready to go, out the door, and then if it did well, okay, we're going to plan some DLC, we're going to make some DLC, that's the thing. But now they're being designed in such a way, it's like, okay, so the game is done, but we're also simultaneously building this, and this to be part of it afterwards. Well, you're already making it now, why don't you just put it in the game? It's a cash grab. That's just the way that I look at it. And it might just be me, but I know I'm not alone in this thought process.
I don't think you're alone. I really don't. And I think everybody's got a point of view. I know you and I are arguing about it right now, but I mean,
right.
I respect your point of view. I see what you're saying on making that cheaper. I get that. I just, I don't know. I can't be upset when somebody offers me something for free. I just can't. And I understand that probably the monetization part of it is the goal, but like they're going to do that anyway. Every company is going to do that anyway. And the hacking the parts off of it, I will say this. I agree with you on the level of the base game should be cheaper. Like unless it's really big, you know, like if the base game of Halo Infinite is Skyrim level,
right.
Okay, but like, because we don't know, but like if you take the Call of Duty example, that game should only be like $30 now, like for the campaign,
right.
You know, but yeah, there was something else I wanted to add. And my kid came over and just started screaming Paw Patrol at me. So it was very hard. It's very hard to concentrate on what you were saying and what I was thinking and her at the same time. It definitely derailed my argument almost completely and totally. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think you're alone on your thinking. I think, though, that it's antiquated in some ways. I think every game is going to go this route. This is what we're looking at. This is the future. We are going to be looking at free-to-play games with monetizations on the back end. And as far as DLC, I agree with you. It used to be it was done, and then if it was really popular, they would do another DLC for it, and then you could pay for that, and that would be extra stuff that you got for your game. I don't like when they make a game to be that's not finished unless you buy the DLC. I hate that.
Yeah. My thought process on this too is if they're so proud and so, secure in this line of reasoning and that they're going to make the multiplayer free to play. Why did this not come out at their conference when
I
they
don't
showed
know.
Halo in the first place?
I don't
Because
know.
that was the one thing everybody's like, well, what about multiplayer? What about multiplayer? Halo's based around, like, one of the tent poles of Halo is the multiplayer, if
Multiplayer.
not the center tent pole is
It
multiplayer.
actually caused a lot of negative rumors too.
Right. And now we're already, you know, there's so many rumors and thoughts swirling around, and now you and I are having this conversation even now. Like, if they think that, if they thought that this was such a good thing, such a fantastic thing, and this is the future of Halo and how we want to do the franchise, well, it took them absolutely nothing but responding to a rumor. Why didn't they just tack on an extra 5-minute thing, say, and I'm sure you're wondering about the multiplayer. Well, we have an announcement. The multiplayer is going to be free to play at launch, and anyone can access it. Like,
I personally agree with you. I think that would have been a bigger win for them too than what they got. And I know you would have been upset, but at the same time, like, I think if they had just come out with that in the showcase, that would have been a big, like, bomb drop moment, you know? And they, not only did they flub that moment, but now it looks like they're trying to, like, sneak it in, which is
right.
really weird, because I'm sure that there are people out there that are very happy about this. Me being one of them, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
It's very weird.
the
It's
end of the
very
day,
weird how they handled it. I completely agree with that.
it really is. And, like, at the end of the day, for all my endless whining about it, like, I'm gonna play it, and that's the thing. And like I said before, it's like, we're gonna find out if I can really get down with a games as service game, because, like, this is it. Like, the Halo is one of the only multiplayer, you know, thing that I go back to on a very regular basis. It's about the only multiplayer that I actually play, honestly.
Right.
So, like, if they can't nail this, I'm just, I don't know, doomed to be stuck in obscurity as an old man in the
I was
corner.
about to say, you're gonna have to find some new games there, man.
I mean, well, I honestly, it's a real concern for me that if everything keeps transitioning the way that it is, and the single player story format, which I don't think is going away for a very long time.
No, neither do I.
But if, let's say, just put an arbitrary time on it, let's say 15 years from now, they're like, well, everything now is going to be an online service, and your story unfolds through online world building with other people. Like, I don't think that I'd play games anymore. I would be stuck in a time. I honestly, truly, and honestly, I would be stuck in a time capsule with my PlayStation 5, Series X, and Switch 2 that came out in 2022 or something like that, and I would never play a new game.
Oh, well, Nintendo's never gonna do it. You're like, they'll always keep doing it the way they've been doing it. It'll be interesting to see where the podcast is at that moment. I think that everything's going that way. I think everything is going to be a live game eventually, even if it's not about the multiplayer, just because for ease of access for the developers to continue to update it and patch it and stuff. Like, it's going to get to a point where everything is basically always online. It's going to get to a point where all the multiplayers are basically free to play with battle passes. And that's the world we're living in. Like, that's what it's transitioning to. Like, everybody's worried about the price of overall games going up. I'm like, there ain't going to be a price for overall games. We're not going to know what that is in 5 years. It's going to be, well, this one's a subscription. This one's free to play. This one's a full price game. This one's like a half price game. This one you pay in installments. Like, that's what it's going to be. It's going to become the Wild West all over again.
Oh, God.
It is. I mean, just look at the trend right now.
Yeah.
And they're being so experimental, because this industry has just, like, blossomed in the last 10 years. And now they're making all this money, and they don't quite know how to, like, you know what I mean? Like, this is the part where everybody's going to be building this industry from years to come. Like, what we're seeing now is going to make it what the car industry is now for us. You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
The future of people. Like, that's what we're seeing. This is a Wild West. So everything's going to get tried until they find what works best for consumers and creators alike. So, but I think we need to move on.
Yeah, we pretty much beat
We
that
argued-
dead horse as long as we could.
We
And
started negative. We're going to go positive from here on out. I think, maybe. Who knows?
hopefully, fingers crossed.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right. So our next talking point, we keep making the mistake of covering Anthem on this podcast. And that's not going to change because myself wants that game to be good so bad. And it's just never been good. So we got some news, Neil, recently. You actually posted it to the Discord. If I can find it through the meme hell that has turned into our lounge.
Yes, I noticed that. That was very interesting. It was a very interesting afternoon.
It was funny. Just a side tangent. Knights made a bot that allows anybody in the Discord to like check their rank as far as posts are. And this caused Philbilly and Filthy Phil to just meme the hell out of everything to try and be number one. So, like, anytime one of them ranks at, like, less than the other one, they just start memeing like crazy. It's freaking hysterical. I think I'm too low.
If you want to be a part of this community, join our Discord.
If you want to watch all these weird, crazy memes, then, yeah, check this out. Okay, so you posted this. This was a reveal from the game director at Anthem, who is calling it Anthem Next now, which is supposedly this thing that's been in works forever, which is we're going to redo Anthem so that everybody likes it years after it came out. So BioWare revealed a bunch of changes to loot and weapons to the game. So really quickly, I'm going to read this off for you. It also came with some cool images of guns that they're trying to like different ideas for guns and stuff. But this reveal, it all centers around weaponry. So I'm just going to read these off real quick. Here are some of the changes that were outlined. Respect your time. Increase the frequency of loot drops. Loot is viable more often. All items have better and more competitive. There's still a chance of getting something exceptional. The loot rarities have strategic value throughout progression. Embrace choice. You can pursue specific loot without relying on randomness alone. Quests, specialized vendors, unique loot tables. I want to stop for a second and just speak on that. Whether you like or hate Destiny, it's totally fair. I understand that. But Destiny occupies a space in the looter-shooter genre which is very interesting. And Destiny does something right that everybody else fails at, and that's even Borderlands 3. You can actually, like, if you want to earn something really cool, you can actually pick the thing that you want to earn and do specific quests for that thing instead of just, like, farming somebody with a 0.000 chance of getting what you want. That's huge. Every looter shooter should have that. It's really cool. It makes it more like a story about how you got your weapon too. And that's what this is. So I'm very excited that they've talked about that. They then said you can modify your loot, including re-rolling inscriptions and leveling up items. Inscriptions being their kind of like anointments. They also said create a rewarding loot experience. Loot feels exciting and more noticeable when it drops. And is celebrated when collected. Rare enemies, aka walking treasure chests, create exciting moments to get a burst of loot all at once. So kind of like a loot shower feel of Borderlands 3. They then said keep it accessible and immediate. Reveal and equip loot right away. A complete revamp of the equipment sheet, including the detailed stat sheet. The equipment sheet can be accessed from anywhere, allows you to easily see what you have equipped in each slot. Each item has an inscription budget based on the power of rarity. No more useless items because they are missing must have inscriptions. Exceptional items are about getting the exact types of bonuses you want instead of maxing values on every bonus. And then scale for the future. Your power cap can be easily increased, and the loot system scales accordingly. Advanced telemetry data allows us to identify trends and make meaningful balance changes. So those were the things that they outlined with this. So I want to talk about this with you a little bit, Neil. I know you're not a games of service guy, so put the games of service hat on for a little bit for me, okay?
Okay.
Pretend you are one a little bit more. Something that really bothers me about everything they've proposed, and I'm going to say right up front, loot was a big problem. It was a big problem in the game because all the guns felt the same. They didn't even look different. You had like 8 different types of guns, and when you got a better one of it looked exactly the same. It just had better numbers. So that was a big problem. It didn't shoot different. There wasn't anything special about it. So the loot was a problem, and all of these changes sound nice, but that was not the reason I stopped playing Anthem. The reason I stopped playing Anthem was actually the story content was not great. You would do the same missions over and over and over and over and over again. So like, while I like all these changes to the loot system, I'm a little bit nervous that they're focusing on the loot part a little bit too much.
So yeah, having not played Anthem at all, I would say that, like, for me personally, yeah, the story would have to be there. And I remember back when they first announced it and showed everything what they wanted to do. They wanted to have the base story, and then the story would continue in updates,
Right.
and like seasons, maybe even.
I know you didn't play Anthem, but basically what ended up happening was you would finish the base story, which was actually decent. Like, they needed a better twist at the end, but it was actually pretty decent. And then you would just like do these like strongholds or event quests, and they would basically everything you hate about games of service that you think every games of service is what Anthem ends up becoming.
Ugh.
Like that's the problem. Like while I feel like there's a lot of variation in Destiny, the thing that you hated was you kept just going back to the same things over and over again, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that. Anthem is that. You had like 5 things, and that's it. You could just do it over and over again. And you could up the difficulty, but the upping of the difficulty didn't even make it. It just made everything super spongy, which didn't feel good at all either.
Yeah. And like, there are different types of difficulties out there for different types of games. The worst type of difficulty modifier is making you squishier and the enemies take more damage.
Right.
Like,
right.
that is just,
it's the worst.
It's worst. It's lame.
You gotta make them smarter, make something dynamic about it. Like, it just making a foot soldier be able to take 4 million points of damage. It's not fun.
No. DMC actually did something along these lines, to where they had a mode that unlocked after you beat the game, to where you'd play back through, and it totally remixed what enemies would spawn where. So you would have totally different waves of enemies in different environments, which totally changed everything up. And usually they were beefier enemies from the late game. And then later on in the game, if you progress through after beating those enemies, they would have enemies that were even more difficult, or throw in like a mini boss as a standard enemy.
Right. And that's awesome. That's what I want to see. And I didn't see anything like that from this. And doesn't mean they're not working on story stuff. There has been some stuff that's come out that they're adding a whole nother faction to the game.
Pirates.
Yeah, the pirates look really cool. And I like the idea that they might be like making it so that you don't have to just play for who you play for. You could actually play for different factions instead of them just being different looking enemies, Which
would be great.
One thing that really makes me nervous, though, about this and the way it's called and the way it's titled and its timing is I don't know how they aren't, like, I know that they shouldn't, but I don't know how they're not going to charge us money for this. You know what I mean? I'm very nervous. I feel like this should be just anybody who bought Anthem gets this, but I'm starting to be very nervous because we've got new systems coming out in November. There's no way this is going to be done by then. So that means they're probably also working on making all of this 4K compatible, which means that it's going to be it's going to be like a sequel inside of a non-sequel. You know what I mean?
So my thought process on this is that Anthem did so poorly in the first place. I think that they would actually make money if they brought people in with the update. So I think it might actually be a gamble on their part saying, hey, we're so confident in what we're doing that we are going to draw new players in as they were before. But I think what would end up happening is something that I actually kind of alluded to back when we talked about Anthem not being great. It was about a year ago. Is right now Anthem goes for like $5 used.
Yeah.
Nobody wants it. But what I think is going to end up happening is once this update comes out and it's like, hey, Anthem's good now, that price is going to shoot all the way up. That's what happened with No Man's Sky.
Well,
No
I mean,
Man's
that's
Sky,
if it gets good.
If it gets good. True. We still haven't seen actual gameplay
No
of this,
Man's
and I'm
Sky,
sure it's a ways out yet.
No Man's Sky also had an interesting thing going for it, was that it was exclusive for the first half of its life. So
True.
like the big update that made it kind of better, that put that price back up, was actually their release onto Xbox in the first place too.
Which of course I'm sure did help it out.
Yes,
so that is a little bit different in that situation.
Right.
No Man's Sky, I think No Man's Sky was more broadly adopted from the get-go than Anthem was. I mean,
It definitely was.
No Man's Sky and Anthem definitely saw a crazy dip in their player base shortly after launch. So, I mean, they both had that going for it. And the exclusivity issue would definitely throw a wrench in this sort of prediction. Right. But I do think,
saying, though.
Yeah, I do think, though, that Anthem, it just bombed that hard. They're banking on this update being something that can bring new people into it who had not played Anthem originally.
The next time you and I hang out, you should play Anthem. Like, just, like, not to, like, convince you it's good or anything, just to play the fighting part, because I think you'd be like, oh, I see why you want this to be good. You know what I mean?
I was super on board with it when they first showed it off. Like, I was ready. I was like, we need to go. We need to throw money down on this thing right now. Like, I was super ready to be invested in it, even though it was a games as service, because from what it had originally shown, like, it looked good, like the flying and everything. I was like, just that on its own, I wouldn't even play the game. I just fly around the damn locations all the time.
Right.
But then that beta came out.
Yeah, the beta was rough.
When that beta came out, everyone was like, oh my God, like, there's nothing to do. There was like, I have no idea what this is. I'm just remembering off the top of my head. I guess there was some gate that you had to open, but it was like impossible to do within the constraints. And you needed people, like, you had to play the game with people. And it's like, oh wow, this doesn't sound great. Maybe I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit. And then
what's even worse about the beta was made by a completely different division in the company. I don't know if you realize
I didn't know that. Oh my God, why would you do that?
Well, it actually wasn't a beta. Like, if you remember, they never actually called it a beta. It was, what was it called? It was a demo. They called it a demo. And what they ended up doing was they split off a team to just make that part with what they had already, while the other team kept working on the game. So the people who finished the demo had nothing to do with finishing the original game.
Oh, God.
It was a completely different team. They called it a demo, which was a train wreck. And on top of that, they had huge server problems. And really, the games as service thing stems from a company that's never done games as service, working for a company that's forcing them to use an engine that they've never used before, that's not really great for quick patches and updates, which you need with a games as service. Nobody had any idea what they were doing, basically, and they just decided to do it anyway.
Go ahead.
I mean, the flying was still good though, Neil. I tell you, man, the flying is great. I still pop that in every once in a while just to fly around. But I mean, the things that make me stop playing that game, it wasn't the loot. Like the loot was terrible. I'm not going to say it wasn't, but I ran out of stuff to do, and the loading times between screens, like the game is so poorly optimized because it's not graphically like the best thing you've ever seen. Like it's good. I'm not saying it's not, but like graphically it's just fine. But the loading times in between like leaving your like social hub and going into a mission was like 5 minutes.
Oh God, yeah.
Like it was huge. It was huge. Like very huge. But once you were in there, it was a lot of fun. And then like you run out of stuff to do, you know?
Yeah, just a brief diversion on this quickly. I
Sure.
think the issues that plagued Anthem, a lot of the issues were not BioWare's fault. I'll put my feather in that cap right now, because even before Anthem, they were forced to start using this Frostbite engine with Mass Effect Andromeda, which we all saw what happened with Mass Effect Andromeda. Like what it ended up being in the end aside, the graphics were not good. And then to turn around and completely abandon Mass Effect because it didn't turn out well, to throw those people and those resources towards pumping Anthem out, which didn't even have a clear vision until, what was it, like months before the game was supposed to even come out, like, and then push people into this and say, all right, we'll just make it work. Like, I don't think that's BioWare. I think that's blood on EA's hands.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, while I agree, I think EA is soaked with blood on that one.
Yeah.
I gotta say, man, BioWare, you need to stand up for yourself. Like, and that's, they got pushed around and they just let EA do it. You look at like Vince, never remember his last name, Respawn guy.
Okay, I don't know.
Vince Lampella, I think. Whatever. But the head of Respawn, he got bought out by EA. Their company made great shit, and they don't use the Frostbite engine because he told them to go to sit and spin. So like there has to be a point where you stand up for your employees and the people that you work for, and you say, no, we're going to do this. No, we're going to do it this way. This is the way it has to be done. And I think BioWare got bought by EA and just let EA and just did anything EA said from start to finish. And look, we're about making money. They are your bosses now, but there has to be a point where you go in and you say, this game isn't going to work unless we do this. And they have to listen to you or they're going to lose the game. You know what I mean? Because when they don't, this happens.
Yeah, and now, I mean, ever since what happened with Anthem, I mean, EA said, oh, BioWare's fine, they're okay, but EA has that history of just shutting down studios left and right. Just studios that make good games, made good games. So like,
we lost one of the BioWares because one of the
true
BioWares was Mass Effect Andromeda, and they took that studio out, which that was another thing that they should have stood up for. They should have been like, hey, you forced us to rush this game out. It's out. It has problems. Let us fix it and let us do our jobs. Instead, they just let them cannibalize themselves, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, it's just not, I mean, don't get me wrong. EA is to blame more than BioWare, but I think BioWare should have stood up for itself a little bit on both these games. As far as Anthem goes, I really want it to be good. I think we're in a very weird spot, though, because we've got new generation systems coming out in 4 months. And, like, how does a game from 2 years ago fit into that? A game that did not do well 2 years ago fit into that, you know?
True. Yeah,
and
that's...
I'm kind of honestly surprised we're seeing anything about it, just because I'm kind of surprised that EA hasn't been like, we can't make money off this. Like, you're done, son, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. It'll be interesting.
It will.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, that brings us to odds and ends, the segment we keep forcing in there, even though we keep promising we're going to skip it when we're running late. But apparently, we just cannot run on time. Like, it's physically impossible.
Impossible.
So this is the place where we catch little stories that don't deserve a full talking point, and we just give them a little shout out or a discussion here. So Neil, why don't you start us off? I only got two today.
Well, we both have two because we already covered the one with the Halo.
Yay!
So here's one that's kind of nightmare inducing for anyone who sank a lot of time into Animal Crossing. Apparently, they rolled out the Dream Island update, so you can basically visit backups of people's islands now. So there's no more, you don't have to do an online connection to physically play with them. You can just be like, hey, let me onto your island, and you like download a backup of it. So you can like go screw around and play on the island, but you can't do anything meaningful on the island.
Right.
Well, people, or at least one YouTuber, I neglected to put the YouTuber down on here, has found out that people are able to report people's dream islands, and because the dream island is attached to your physical island, if you get spammed with reports, Nintendo, without any sort of appeal or arbitration, will straight up delete your entire island.
Oh, that is messed up.
So, yeah. So, just be careful out there on the interwebs, kiddos, or else your entire quarantine island will get wiped.
I'm so glad because it asked me if I wanted to enable the backup the other day, and I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And now I'm so glad because I'm like, I'm not even on there.
Yeah. So
okay.
That's scary.
Well, my first one is I don't know how many people out there played Suikoden. Okay, it is a super old PlayStation 1 and then PlayStation 2 series of games. Suikoden 1, 2, and 3. They are these crazy like hybrid turn-based role-playing games with turn-based strategy in them as well. I love these games. I've always loved them, and they're not in the genre that I like, but I like them because like every town has like 3 people you could just collect. Like there's always like over 100 characters that you can collect and get on your team and like level up and stuff. They all interact differently with each other. I just love that. Usually there's like a castle that every time you get one, they build a room in the castle that's uniquely theirs. Well, the creators of the original Suikoden launched a Kickstart for Yukiden, which funded in less than 24 hours and beat its stretch goal by like 3 times the amount, I believe.
Oh.
So we will be getting a next-gen version, spiritual successor to Suikoden.
Well, let's hope that it can shake the curse of the crowdfunding. I mean, Bloodstained was able to do that for the most part, but
yeah, I didn't like it, but I know a lot of people did.
Yeah, there weren't very many success stories of crowdfunding games being overtly successful.
No, I'm keeping my fingers crossed though.
So why don't you go ahead and do your last one? Because my my next one's it's a thing.
Okay. My next one is Out of Nowhere, this game that they've barely showed, an Xbox exclusive from Rare, that we all knew they were making, Battletoads. They've been making the remake of Battletoads forever. And no, like everybody was like, where is it? Because we knew it was coming. They've showed nothing from it. Well, guess what? It's coming out on the 20th. Just right in the Games Pass. It's out. They didn't show anything, and then they just showed the announcement trailer. We got to see some gameplay. We got to see story, the whole 9 yards. It looks like a lot of fun. It looks like a small little fun project that they put together. So I'm kind of excited to play that. I played Battletoads as a kid with my brother. I could never get past the turbojet part, but
I don't think anybody could.
Nick did. A couple
what?
Of times. Yeah. Nick is crazy. Like Nick.
Oh my God.
Nick has this weird like focus to him where like once he decides he's got to do something, that's the thing he's got to do until he does it. And then he'll move on to something else, but like he'll just keep doing it until he does it. I think he memorized that whole thing and finally figured out a way through it. But I'm kind of excited about this one, so I'm going to be trying it out and probably reviewing
Yeah, I saw the trailer too, and I think it's interesting because they're going to do cross-genre
Yeah,
stuff, so it's
yeah.
not just going to be one single thing.
Well, I mean, the original kind of was too. I mean, you had the brawler, but you also had that weird turbojet thing, you know?
That's true.
So I just hope they don't make any scenes as hard as that original one was, or it won't be accessible.
I don't think they will.
So,
yeah,
your last one. Let's hear it.
So my last one, we're just going to have to make sure that when I go through this, that we keep the time in mind. So this morning, actually, right before we recorded, we had heard rumors about a Sony State of Play that's going to happen in August, and Microsoft apparently has one at some point too. And we had mentioned briefly that there was speculation that we were going to get price and a God of War announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Cory Barlog has already said that's not going to be a thing, so there's not going to be any God of War. But hey, maybe the price is going to come out. Nope. Scheduled for August 6th is the next Sony State of Play. And they said in the announcement for this State of Play that there will be no major PS5 announcements, that it is going to focus strictly on PS4 and PSVR. Are you shitting me? So that basically confirms now, unless they just decide to throw the price out there, that we're not going to get a price for the PS5 in August either.
I don't want to get started.
I know.
We're already running late. I'm so mad right now. I don't want to get started.
I cannot fathom. Like,
and they're only doing PlayStation. They're not even doing. I can't.
They said that they might, that it's going to be 40 minutes long, and it's going to just briefly check in with some other things that they had mentioned about possible games for the PS5, but it's not going to be a show that includes major announcements. So, I mean, I guess this is an opportunity for Microsoft, if their show in August here is like, okay, we're showing you Lockhart and you're getting prices, they can finally get back into step with what's going on with this generation. But even still, we're now going to be entering August. We know Microsoft's next conference won't even be until at least next month, because this one just got confirmed for, Thursday. So they aren't going to throw it out there any less than like a week in advance. So we're probably looking at the end of August for even Microsoft's conference to possibly learn anything about this stuff.
Absolutely shameful. It is absolutely the most horrible, insensitive, terrible thing. I do not understand why there is not more outcry about it. This is something that we should have known during E3. E3 week has come and gone for months. We don't know what these systems cost, and half of us can't even work right now. Oh man, like
I cannot imagine their thought process as to why
you got a president out there threatening to shut down TikTok. Don't worry about TikTok. Make the game companies tell us how much these consoles are going to be.
That's
the executive order I want to see.
That's what's truly important.
That's it. Like, sign an executive order for that, man. That's what I want. They must tell you how much they're charging you. This is absolutely shameful, man. Shameful.
Yeah. And
there are people in quarantine right now, and you want to hawk them. Oh.
And possibly going back into there. I mean, we're getting back to the point to where everything gets shut back down again, especially in the wintertime.
Well, and stuff is still shut down in certain states, you know, and whether or not, hey, anybody out there, whether or not you believe in COVID, whether or not you believe in masks, you will agree that there are people out of work right now because of this situation. So the fact that we don't know how much they cost is just God, it's terrible. It's terrible, especially in a console generation when we're going to all have to buy new TVs. Like, come on, man. If no, I'm gonna stop.
I was about to say, I'm going
We're already
to
late.
stop you right there. Push us on, and we will just pick this little nugget back up maybe next week. We're just going to push on through.
So sick of talking about this too. Like it's like the same thing every time. Like they come out with news about it, and I say the same like 14 things over and over again. You know, it's so frustrating. I've never been happier to be going PC. When the time comes, I'm going to buy a PC. I'm never going to look back at this he said, she said chicken bullshit. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't even care if we go late. I'm going to tell you this right now. Anybody out there who's like, console war is dead, it's not fucking dead, because these fucking assholes can't get off their goddamn chairs for long enough to tell us what the price is, because they don't want to be the first one to blink. That's all this is two idiots in a car driving at each other at 90 miles per hour, and neither one of them wants to look like a pussy in front of their girlfriend. That's what this fucking is, and I'm so sick of it. We are in 2020. No one cares about the console shit anymore. Just move the fuck on, tell us how much your system costs, and hope it sells.
You know, I since we're just going to take a little bit of time at this point, we may as well just talk about this briefly a bit more, because, like you said, we're already going over. So
I don't know if I have anything more to say about it.
I was just going to add to it. It's like, you know, to use your analogy, these cars are heading at each other, and honestly, I'm starting to believe that there's a chance that these two might just, nobody's going to hit the brakes. They're going to crash.
Yeah,
they're both going to have their prices come out now, theoretically in September.
Well, I'll tell you, if I'm wrong, and these consoles are 600 and 550, and they don't tell us what it is until September or October, then they're in trouble. Because I don't think they're going to sell the systems that they think they're going to sell.
And that's exactly what I was going to kind of lean into, was the fact that we have these people, like you said, like people are out of work still. I mean, it's a big ask to even want a console at this point.
Yep.
You know, even $400 for a new console. I mean, like I said, I've been fortunate enough that with everything going on, we managed to save money for getting a console, and that's set off to the side. But again, as time marches on, like, I'm starting a new job, you know, then I'm taking a little bit of a pay cut to do that. There's a chance as time continues that I'm going to have to touch that money.
Yeah.
If we keep screwing around and waiting to see what's going to end up happening.
You know, we got lucky through this thing too, but I have friends who have had to really make cutbacks, you know, because of this stuff. Like, it's not, you know what? Phil Spencer, I don't know what the chances are that you listen to this show. And I don't know if you've ever heard this show or know who I am or who Neil is or give two shits in a jar. I don't. But I tell you this right now, you go on the air every time you get on any one of your showcases or any one of your stages, and you tell us how much you care about us, how much you care about us as consumers and players. Well, guess what? It's time to do the right thing and tell us how much these consoles cost, okay? And this isn't a normal year. This isn't a year where you can do this, where you can play chicken with this stuff. People out there don't have the money for this, and we need to know how much this is. It's the right thing to tell us. And if you really care about this, if you're out there and you're listening to this, and you really care about us, you will tell us how much these systems cost, okay? You just will, Phil. And I actually have believed in you for a long time. You are easily my role model in the development space. So please, please, please make me right about you and tell us how much these systems are. Please. Okay?
And if this is the first time that you're listening, Mr. Spencer, hello.
Yeah, please like, share, and subscribe.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, that brings us to the end of the show, the Horrible Arena, the moment you guys have all been waiting for. What is the Horrible Arena? If you've never watched the show, well, first of all, you should watch the show more often. Second of all, me and Neil will pitch you a game based on pre-existing criteria that one of us has decided. We take turns so that everybody gets the home field advantage. We'll pitch you the title of the game, the summary of the game, and the developer of the game. And then you get to take to all the places and decide which one you'd spend your hard-earned money on if you had to choose. And then next week, we decide a winner. So the quantum coin has been tossed. Neil gets to go first this week. Neil, the criteria, which we failed to announce in the show last week, is a Zelda spinoff that does not involve Link as the protagonist. Take it away.
All right. So I think it goes without saying that this is going to be made by Nintendo. And in the entire storyline continuity of the Legend of Zelda series, it was not until, I believe, the Twilight Princess game that it was established that Link is basically a reincarnation of one of the pieces of the Triforce. He's always dubbed the hero in whatever generation that he shows up in. He's always the link, as it were, between all of the previous story. And then, of course, we had Ganon or Ganondorf and Princess Zelda. And we have also established that there is a crazy timeline in where there are various branches based off of if the hero of time is either successful or unsuccessful in stopping the threat at hand. I am going to put mine firmly in the timeline where the hero is not successful and is killed. In my game, or in the timeline of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Link is actually killed. And his reincarnation is not sent to one of his ancestors. His reincarnation is sent further on and is lost within time and finds its way into a modern era. It finds its way into a modern era in which the successors of Ganondorf have been very successful in building their own view of what the world is and is a leader in the world, be it of a corporation or of a political head. And he has, over time, captured and basically brainwashed Princess Zelda's descendants into being obedient to him. This story will focus on your protagonist, either male or female, holding the Triforce of Courage, going through and trying to set things right, severing the connection between the two other pieces of the Triforce and trying to reinstate the proper timeline. This game would be set in the future. It would be more so like, it would have like hover bikes and stuff like that. It would be in like a neon jungle sort of deal, very neon jungle, concrete jungle sort of vibe to it. I wouldn't say so much as like cyberpunk, but definitely futuristic dystopia, in which all of the different bosses that you would have to take out would be heads of either gangs or other corporations, and you would work your way up to Ganon or Ganondorf and save the world, the timeline, and the city from his influence. And I'm going to call my project... I didn't even think of a name for this because I was so focused on the pitch itself. I'm going to call it Cronus. And that's my pitch.
All right. Good pitch, Neil. Very, very interesting. Very different. Not what I'm going to pitch at all. So don't worry about that. Yeah. No. Not even close. All right. So for my pitch will be named Project Low Rule. And it will actually not be developed by Nintendo. I think they need to partnership up and give the reins to another company that's similar that could do something interesting with it. So I want it to be Capcom, mainly because of how they did Monster Hunter World and how they're good at that kind of thing. So
they did Minish Cap too.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Well, so what's my game? What's Project Low Rule? Well, there is a Nintendo DS game that is, I don't know, kind of beloved. I'm not sure. Called A Link Between Worlds. The premise, spoilers for that. It's required in the premise of my game, just letting everybody know. The premise of it is that there is actually an alternate dimension that it sits basically next to Hyrule, called Low Rule, where everything is kind of like Bizarro opposite land. Their princess, Hilda, basically they destroyed the Triforce years and years and years and years and years and years ago to stop all the wars that Hyrule suffers. Hyrule finds a way to find kind of a peace without doing that, whereas Low Rule just destroys it. Well, because they destroy it, just like monsters come and evil comes, and just their world is just corrupted and twisted. So the plot of A Link Between Worlds is Link has to go back and forth between the worlds, and basically Hilda does some dirty stuff, tricks Link into coming over, helping her summon Ganon so that she can steal the Triforce from Hyrule and fix Low Rule. Well, that doesn't work out. Hilda sees the errors of her ways. Link returns to Hyrule. You get one wish, though, when you put the Triforce together, so they wish that Low Rule gets its own Triforce. So Low Rule gets a Triforce, and basically A Link Between Worlds ends all happily. However, we in the real world know that's not what happens. That's just not what happens. Just because you have the thing to fix your world doesn't mean your world's fixed. So now you have a Triforce in Low Rule. It's spread out over Low Rule. You also have the bits and pieces of an original Master Sword, because there would have been one there too as well. So you get to make a character from start, female or male. It's a complete character creator. And then you get to venture out into Low Rule, and you get to decide Low Rule's fate. You get to hunt monsters to craft bigger and better weapons. You get to search catacombs to find pieces of the new Triforce, find pieces of the new Master Sword. All the things that existed in Hyrule exist in Low Rule, but in weird different places, and they have different powers and different twists on them. So this game becomes that. You add this interesting multiplayer to it as well, because you can actually go in with like 4 of your friends who have also made their characters, because Low Rule isn't about having one hero who just keeps coming back to fight evil. Low Rule is more like our world, where there's just evil and there's just people who are willing to fight it. So are you willing to help Low Rule become great? Are you willing to link together with the other people to fight off the monsters and make Low Rule a great kingdom to live in once more? So that's my game, Project Low Rule. And there you guys have it, Project Low Rule versus Project Chronos. 2 interesting pitches. We want to hear from you guys as to which ones you would pick.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to the end of the show, and this is the place where we shamelessly self-promote ourselves. So, Neil, do you have any plugs before I tell people where they can talk to us?
Well, we are going to be going in and wrapping up this season of Streets of Retro and OMG Dungeons here in the next few days.
Yeah, that's true. August is going to be big for season finales. We're probably going to be wrapping up season finale, the season finale of Streets of Retro, and probably the series finale of Minecraft Dungeons. So September will be interesting. And then we got to get an OMFD coming up on Saturday. So
Yes.
For us, as usual, you can contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH. You can contact us on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. You can influence this and all of the shows we have here on the channel. And we just like to hear from you. We like to talk to you guys. As usual, you guys keep watching and listening. We will keep making these, and we will keep making them too long.